Hi, both, and hi, everyone else. How we're doing today?
I'm
Pretty good.
like I said before, I'm mostly tired. Yeah,
Fair.
it's my permanent state of being at the moment. So
I feel it. I've been so low energy recently.
yeah,
Don't know why.
for me it's mostly like burnout from work. So
That sucks. Are you, Kira? Are you okay?
Yeah, not too bad today.
Nice. Well, big question. Have we finished the book?
Yes.
of course I haven't. But do we expect differently by now?
It's a good thing you don't mind spoilers. I have finished as well this morning. We were talking about this. But yeah, it was very quick. So, just as a reference, we're talking about Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse, book 2 in Between Earth and Sky trilogy. Yes. Okay. Do you each want to tell me general thoughts / rating? I also will say, and we can like dive into details.
So personally, overall thoughts, I feel like this was like a little bit of middle book syndrome. However, because the first one was so strong, I feel like that wasn't like too much of a like lag on it. So like as far as like it did feel like a preparation like for the next book. So I would probably say like I think I rated like the first book like a 4.5. I think I'd give like this like around a 4-star, But yeah, so that's pretty much like my general thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with Kira. Like, I am about 65% in, and so far, not too much exciting stuff has happened. So I'm I don't want to say I'm struggling with it, but like compared to the first book, I just think it's much more boring. I'm missing all like the fun character interaction that I really liked in the first one. So the first one for me was like 4.5, 5 stars, something like that, and this one right now is around 3 stars, I want to say. But yeah, mostly like middle book syndrome, not too much happening. So that's where I'm at.
Totally agree. So for me, yeah, it's so much setup, but I also don't mind it too much because I do like the characters and I am intrigued by the world. So I felt like I was reading this book like super quickly. But it did feel like we were like, okay, we had everyone on the board and now we need to move everyone on a different part of the board and then book 3 can happen. So it definitely felt like that. Okay, but what were your like favorite things maybe we can talk about, or like any burning things you want to talk about? We can slowly make our way through.
For me right now, I want to say I'm kind of missing like a bit of tension in this book that I had in the first book. Like that one really felt like building up to like a crescendo, and this one just doesn't really have that for me. It's just kind of just like hobbling along.
I was actually talking about this because I was hanging out with Hannah yesterday. She was also reading it. And we were talking about it, and she made a good point saying that because the book 1 had like the ticking clock thing, plot device, it really felt like you said, like it was building to something exciting. And I think for me it was that number 1, and then also the fact that like there wasn't really, it was super linear versus the other book. We were jumping between places, we were jumping between days. So like the whole, like the beginning bit where they tell you like time and place, this, it had a purpose, versus in this one I just didn't even read it because I was like, it's all happening at the same time. And then I also think it's like the fun character interactions you mentioned, like Zala and Serapio, were such a big appeal of book 1, and obviously they're not really together in this book, so that definitely killed the like good vibes in that sense.
Yeah.
But sorry, I keep talking, but you can.
No,
I was just thinking, in a way it felt more balanced as a book, because the book 1 I just loved Serafio and Jala's chapter so much, and I did not care for Narampa so much. It was like, yeah, I'm reading. Oh, I'm reading. Yeah, I'm reading. So it was very like lows and ups and lows. But this one, it was more characters with POVs, and it just felt a bit more balanced. Like I was enjoying it the whole time. It didn't have the highest of highs, but it didn't have the lowest of lows. So it was more like balanced, if that makes sense.
I almost feel like book 3, like for Narapo, like it's almost like she started out weak and she's gonna like she was like gaining in strength like during like this book, and I feel like the last book is gonna be like a lot more of like us seeing her flourish like with her powers and stuff like that she recently discovered.
Yes, so maybe we can like focus on the character and the perspective, and then we can like, so Narampa we can talk about first. But 100% agree. I think I found them much more enjoyable, this book. This is why I'm like, if she was like 19 in book 1, now I'd be like, she's growing up, but she's already like 30 something, so like grow up already. But it kind of shows how sheltered she was and how flawed her view and small her world, and how that she moved out of that and it's like become much more powerful, like you said. And I actually found the ending to be really surprising, like what ended up happening. I wasn't quite expecting it to go that way, and I think she has a very exciting journey ahead of her. And I feel like maybe her parts will be some of my favorite because of where she's going. I don't know, Femke, if you felt that way. Like, I don't appreciate you're only halfway there, but like,
I'm still not very fond of Narampa. I don't know. I'm not hating her chapters quite as much as like in the first book, but I feel like that's also because like she went exploring in the library, came across like basically history and lore and those kinds of things, and like that is something that I really do appreciate about this book. That we just get more of the background, a bit, you know, more of the lore, the mythology, those kinds of things. Also a bit where the magic is coming from, because in the first book we were saying like, you know, there's not really a system to this. So how is it working? And I feel like we get more of a glimpse into that, and that's mostly why I appreciate her chapters more in this book. But as a person, I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent towards her. I'm not hating her, but I'm not loving her chapters either.
Yeah.
I think with her, the arc of this book is almost like her coming into great power again, in a position of authority again. And then I'm just gonna like, let's just do spoilers. Sorry, okay. But
go ahead. You know, I don't
like
mind
her, like she's coming slowly into like the position of the matron of the chaotic clan and being sun priest. And in the end, she gives it up and she's like, I don't actually think I'm right for this. And she kind of goes off into the sunset with a purpose. So I'm like, I agree she's not a good leader. So I was almost like, hopefully this is her starting to acknowledge that and acknowledging that maybe her strengths lie somewhere else, not so much being the leader. I'm so sorry. Hello. Hi, Rory.
Hello.
Hannah made an interesting point about Narampa's relationship with her brother felt so rushed, and that was, of course, a big part of her chapter. So it's a little frustrated. I do agree, because I feel like it was such a contagious point of book 1, and it kind of felt like he was just fine with her, and he was like testing her, but like really, really in love with not in love, but like loving his sister and like having so much grace for her. And I was like, I wish it was a little bit more built up.
Yeah.
I also love the ending, because she's finally freeing herself from the confines of what she thinks she should do and should want, and taking more action. Whereas before she was just being impacted by the world and other people's schemes. Even gaining her position as the sun priest was accidental, and she was pushed into that position by her mentor who believed in her. Yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed the ending so much, because it was like, she was actually, I don't want to kill you, Serapio, so I'm not gonna. Actually, I'm gonna go and learn more about myself. And like, I really appreciate that, because everyone's like, well, you have to, and you have to use the mask knife thing to do it, and you have to do X, Y, and Z. And she was like, no, I don't think I will. So I really enjoyed that. I don't love her as a person, but I appreciate her arc.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Serapio had like a big arc in this too, because he went from seeing himself as the vessel for a god to seeing himself as a human and a person who wants to be recognized as a human and apart from his godness.
Yeah, I think that was such it was probably my favorite part of the book, is like Serapio and his struggle, and like that and the religious fervor and him being a god versus him being a person. And it's like Jala wasn't there to validate his humanity, and he was like searching for that. So that one scene where he was talking to the leader of the sect, and he was like, "Do you know my name?" And he's like, "Oh, you're Odoa, whatever, the god." And he's like, "That's not my name, though, is it?" And then he was like, "You know, I like stories, and do you know I like chocolate?" And the religious zealots don't care about that, in a sense. They're like, "No, you're a symbol, actually. So like, I don't really care about you." Yeah. And the ending with him kind of being like, "Fine, they want to use me for the religious symbol thing. I'm gonna use them to further my," and it's almost like him being like, "I will take back my agency from the god by not killing the Sand Priest, but I will use their devotion to like get what I want and like unite everything." And I think it was quite powerful. But overall, the whole book, I was like, this is so fascinating, because Seraph is like the villain, if that makes sense. Like for a large portion of the book, you're like, well, actually what he's doing is pretty messed up. His followers are really messed up. No one really wants him to be in charge. Like, is this right? And he's like going off the deep end for a bit. But we met him first, and we got to know him as a person first, and we got to love him first. And I almost felt like us as a reader are Jala, because we're like, we lost Serafio, we acknowledge he's doing bad things, and now we're stuck in his enemies' heads, learning their perspectives, if that makes sense almost. So I was like, Jala and us, we're the same. But I quite like where it's going, and I'm really curious to see where it's going to go even further.
Yeah, I thought the scene where Serapio was in the crowd, in the camp, looking for Ziala, and everyone was like, you know, bless my child and heal my mother, and I don't know what everything was going on. And he was like, that's not why I'm here. Like, I'm a person. I'm looking for someone. Can you just like back off? And they just didn't back off. And I just felt that was really harrowing, I think might be the right word. I was like, no, don't touch him. Like, back off. You know, give the guy some space.
It felt so invasive, because like he's at the end of the day he's blind, and he was blind in that moment because he couldn't use the crows, and it's just like, and they were just like, it felt so claustrophobic. I was like, get off.
Honestly, it really reminds me of the scene. You've seen The Mummy, right? We've talked about The Mummy before, where there's the guy with the urn, and the crowd is just like advancing on him, trying to get the urn, and he's just like backed into a corner and can't move. It kind of felt like that to me. Except obviously that guy dies and Serapio didn't, but you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of how I imagined it, you know, all the people just coming in like.
Yes. And yeah, it was a really interesting scene. And at first I was like, did he actually turn into crows, or can he just see through the crows? And then I realized he actually turned into a crows. I was like, what the fuck? That's so cool. Like, I can just totally see it in my head as like an anime or something, like an animation. I'm like, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his like is the most interesting part of the book. It's just like him as a person and him as this god. And I think now he found new powers where he can heal people at the end. It's just like, what's gonna happen, you know?
Just hope like, and then Serapio and Ziala lived happily ever after.
Oh my god! So this is my prediction for the end, and I agree. And I was like, he must fake his death, she must fake her death, and they're gonna live on the ship forever and be happy forever. And if not, I'm gonna be very upset.
I know.
Yeah, so right now that's not a prediction, that's like a hope, I guess.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's no way it's going to end like that, but you know.
Oh, please. I wanted to, well, I was almost spoiled something for a different series, so I was like, oh, never mind. But yeah, I was like, I just want to,
like, if you and Kira have both seen it, I as always, I don't mind spoilers, so.
No, I was gonna reference Wheel of Time ending.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Never heard of Wheel of Time?
Wheel of Time, sorry. I heard like we as in WE space LOVE, Wheel of Time. I was like, yes, I tried Wheel of Time, and I managed halfway through the first book, and I fell asleep 6 times, and then I gave up. And I was falling asleep.
And I watched Daniel Craig explaining them all.
I was so bored.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Do you want to talk about Zala now? Like, do you have thoughts? Or Kira, do you have any other thoughts about Serapio or anything like that?
not Serafio, but like I don't know. I feel like Zala like went in the opposite directions. Like she started off like with all this autonomy. Like she was kind of a mess, but she started off like with all this autonomy, and now she's like doesn't have autonomy. She's kind of a slave like to like making sure like that Serafio like is safe, and you know, like she has like her own agenda like now, and it's kind of forced her like into situations like where she has to do things that she doesn't necessarily want to do.
Jana, I was like, girl, what are you doing? Because I was like, she took Narampa's stupidity and ran with it. Because I was like, the hell? So you send a message to guards asking you to take you to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Guards come looking for you. You ran away from guards. Make it make sense. Like, I know she was like triggered and traumatized and she's been running from authority, but I was like, girl, stop it. So that pissed me off. And then she was like, Ikten just like, it was very masterfully done because she didn't even realize that she was basically being kidnapped as a hostage. And I was like, you just walked into this like willy-nilly. And then she was trying to spin it in her head, like, oh, I'm just gonna totally like collect information and spy. I'm like, how are you gonna how are you gonna go back? Like if she was being, and I agree, she was just between Ikten and Zaya, I'm not sure how you actually say it, but the governor person, and they were like both like, be my friend, not be my friend, not the other person's sex, be my friend. And I was like, what's happening? So I like where she's got in the end, and I was like reading her chapters and I was thinking she put so much onto Serapio because she's just so desperate for love and connection, and she has so much baggage that she needs to resolve before she can go back to him. So I appreciate that, and I was like, she can only do that if she goes back to Teak and sorts out her stuff. So I enjoy that, and I think I did find it really surprising that she would be so willing to sell out Teak for Serapio. Like she's willing to be a spy for Balam as long as he saved Serapio. But I was like, oh, girl, I thought you were a bit more loyal than that. But I love him, so I support it.
I don't know. I don't feel like she has like much loyalty to her Teak roots, you know, at all. It just felt like her, like, you know, like everything, like she was just so harshly judged, and she was an outcast, and like, you know, she understands like that there is a certain element of loyalty to it, but she also like realizes that her loyalties do lie elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true. I think also annoyed me how it's treated her like she's just tagging along their journey where she's their prisoner. Like them telling secrets in front of this prisoner, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I felt like the Iktan and Zaya, whatever the girls call, like they were kind of like two dogs fighting over a bone with Ziala, and I was like, am I missing the point here? Like, wasn't she like your prisoner? What? Like what? And I'm still at the two dogs fighting over a bone stage, so you know I'm not sure where it's going to go from here, but I'm confused.
Yeah, it was a bit confusing because so at the end she kind of kills Pesh person was also pissed me off because she was her doing things at the end was so stupid. Like she was trying to get Ikten's attention, and somehow she got everyone's attention, and then they were like, oh, this person's a prisoner or whatever. But I was like, girl, why you all you ever talk about is like how you can't use your song to kill people, and you're panicking, and like you've lived with it for so many years, you'd think you know how to use it, and then she just panic kills someone, and that's supposedly the first person she killed. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, there's just like Zala, I think I much preferred her in book one. I was like, why are we turning into this kind of useless, very wishy-washy character where I found her really powerful in book one, even when she was like stressed and being like, what the hell's happening? She had agency, like you mentioned, and now I was like,
the only way I can properly describe her in this book is just like a wet mop. I'm sorry. But
yeah,
like,
a little bit.
Everyone's just using her, and she has like no autonomy whatsoever. So
yes, I'm hoping that in book 3, because she's obviously on the cover, it'll be like her coming to herself story. And yeah, her relationship to Tika, like you said, Kira, is quite interesting because it's like, yes, she doesn't really have that much loyalty, but at the same time, it's like her whole identity. She's always talking about how she's Teak. So I'm like,
Teak this,
hopefully
land
she'll-
sickness this, her song this, her eyes this, her hair this.
yeah. And she's like, well, a Teak and blah, blah, blah is blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, so I guess we're gonna like reckon with all of that in this book, next book.
But you know what I find like really hard to believe, like in all this, that they would that the two characters like that were holding her hostage would allow her to be taken without her being questioned, because the entire time just like we need to talk to you about like, you know, like Serpio, because like he's got like, you know, him really well, like you probably like know his weaknesses, like we need to know more about him. And it's like, okay, so you guys just let her go? Like,
Honestly,
what was the point of you guys having her?
I didn't even like clock that when it happened in a moment, but now we're talking about it, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
At first, I was really impressed with like Ikten's scheming to get her to kind of like willingly be a prisoner. I was like, okay, like consider me impressed, you know, well done. And then I was like I said, like, well, wasn't she a prisoner? What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like, tell us about Serapio. She's like, I don't feel like doing that. Oh, that's okay, babe. Have some soup. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing? And it's like you said, Kira. Like,
he wants some tea. He wants snacks.
Yeah.
You know?
And we were like, oh, we have to like transport her on the Eagles because we need to have her as the prisoner, whatever. And then you just let her go back to Tink without even asking anything. I was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad it wasn't just me, and I was sure there was going to be like a point to this, but apparently there's not. So
they didn't even try to torture her, nothing.
To be fair, they didn't even really try to get any info out of her. They asked nicely, and when she said no, they were like, okay.
They just wanted so bad for her to be their best friend, and I was like, is this like the Teak power of being so cool? Like, why are we all like? She's
yeah.
Like, I just think overall, like understanding people's motivations is slightly confusing because I'm still slightly confused about this world. Like, I think hearing that story about the first spear maiden that started like the war and then the treaty came from it, that was helpful. But I was like, I don't understand. Is Quikola and Haken or whatever it's called, those are like cities / countries? Question mark. And then there we have the people of the Eagle people and the Crow people and blah blah people, but they belong to those places or they're completely separate. I was just like, I don't understand how everything works. And me and Hannah, again, we were talking about it. We literally pulled up a map because our copies don't have maps, so we had to pull it up like from the internet. And we were like, but why are they marching all the way across the continent to overtake this one city? How are you going to hold it? Like, what is the big picture plan? And I think that's slightly confusing to me. And like, why did Serapio's mom work with Balam if she thought they're just going to betray the Crow people and just take it for themselves? Like, it's all a little bit, I'm just like, I don't really understand who wants what. Like, everyone just wants to take over everything is what I'm getting from this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, a little bit of an issue I have with this book, like, I don't mind political intrigue, scheming, that kind of thing, but I feel like this is just too much. There is too much going on. And it's like, but what's even the point here? What are we trying to do? What are we working towards? Like Hannah says, the map is
like
not
world
mapping.
domination. It's like, oh, I want Tova. I'm like, why is Tova so great? It sounds like it's just kind of snowing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand it used to be great because the Watchers were there and that's what made it powerful. But the Watchers are dead, so like.
Did you guys watch Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like remember where Theon came from, like the Iron Islands?
Yeah.
That's how I imagine Tova. A bunch of rocks with some hanging bridges between them.
Makes sense.
It's like I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yes, I was saying like either you have to have the book be bigger and you tell a bigger story about all of these different places and you explain it enough so it makes sense, or you make it smaller and it's just about Tova and you don't need 5 other nations coming in, because it's just slightly too much and it's like a little underexplained. So I'm just a bit confused. Like, what are we trying to do here? Because there's so many coups, everyone's couping, everyone's betraying each other. I'm just like, so what's the goal here?
Yeah. The two things I'm most interested in so far in this book is basically like the graveyard of the gods thingy.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, like the sorcerer's magic, like how does it work? What can we do? Like, what's he called? Balam?
Mm-hmm.
That guy with his dream walking ability and him slowly going mad, I feel like, with visions and everything. And I want to know what happens there. I mean, we might find that out because I haven't finished, but that's what I'm most interested in. And like I said, the graveyard of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
So Graveyard of the Gods, I think we're going to see in book 3 because that's when Nara's headed. So I'm also super, super excited for that one. Also, it's not even marked on the map. I was like, where is it meant to be? I need a better map. That map just looks like a lake with some, like, it doesn't look big enough. But anyway, that was like a whole thing about the maps. But so yeah, that's, what about you, Kira? What are you most like excited for?
I actually well, I mean, Serpio's got like a whole different like plan now, and he's going to be like raising his own empire basically, like, and trying to figure out like how to make things equal, a little bit more. And he's not doing it like in anybody's interest, so he's like become his own entity now. So I'm really curious to see how he handles that. But I'm also curious like to see like how Narapa, because I feel like if she hasn't discovered her full potential yet, like what does that mean for her character? Because she was already pretty powerful before, she decided to go off and try to learn more about her potential. But the fact that she's going that she's doing more investigating makes me like wonder like where that leaves us in terms of power goes. Is that going to make her more powerful than Serpio at some point? Is it going to make her like an actual kind of like demigod? Like, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I really liked was like them breaking the cycle of the 2 gods fighting with each other, like, because we saw that it kind of happened throughout the history and throughout the centuries. But I agree, like, I am curious to see where it goes. I hope Serpio keeps like growing his power as well and like figuring it out. But yeah, I feel like with her, she's gonna like maybe in some way permanently become the god or so, or like some kind of demigod. Like now she can turn into the Firebird, so she's like on Serapio's level almost. And yeah, it's curious to see where she goes. And when she was like, "I'm gonna go find someone to teach me," I was like, "Where the hell are you gonna find that?" But going to the Graveyard of Gods, I was like, "Oh, that's smart, actually." But I still don't know who that would be, and I think it'd be curious for it to be. I don't know. Like,
She could have asked Serapio, because the guy went through all the trouble to get to the point where he is. I mean, he murdered his tutors. So
true.
I feel like,
but it's like interesting because he's very knowledgeable about like a lot of like fighting, blah blah blah. But almost like even he doesn't know what he is now and what's happening, because he was expecting full on to die. He wasn't expecting to like be a living god anymore. And it sounds kind of like his god abandoned him, but in some ways didn't. Like, it sounds to me like he's now abandoned and now he has to do sorcery like any other person, which is like using blood magic. But yeah, I'm curious about it. For me, I'm very excited about the teak as well. I want my girl to be a mermaid. I want that explored way more than it is, and I think their society is super interesting because it's almost like the Amazonians from like DC, but like they actually kill the men. So I think that's, for me, is very, very exciting, the teak. Oh yeah, that teak lady, Teak and Tula. I feel like there's gonna be like an attempt at the war, and I feel like that's where Jala's gonna step in maybe and like take care of her people.
I kind of feel like, though, so especially like with Serpio's arc, kind of like colliding like with Narapa's, he, like, after he didn't die, like in the first book, he lacked direction. Before, he's just like, this is what's going to happen. I know this is my last day on Earth. I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. And boom, didn't happen, So now, like, he's going through like the whole, book, like second book, trying to figure out well, where does that leave me? Like, he had absolutely like no direction. He just knows like that he's still here and he has these abilities. He doesn't know what to do with them. I feel like Narapa gave him direction again. Like she re-gave him another purpose other than the one that he originally had, but using the skills that he learned from the previous one.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, because I think he even says something around the lines of like, I was lost, but now I know what I'm doing again. And I feel like he was almost going like a little stir crazy, because he was like, I don't know what to do, like, and I have all this power and I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I think so now I guess he's like, I'm gonna be king of this place. I'm gonna get everyone to do what I want, but I'm gonna make them make right decisions, if that makes sense, which is always interesting. Oh my god, disgusting. Hannah, no. Narampa Serapio Jala Frapple. No. I don't want Narampa anywhere near those two.
I was just about to say, like, I'm not against thruples, but I am against Narampa. So
yes, exactly.
No, I am.
No, I feel like her and Ixan gotta get back together, because they are like, oh my god, my friend, I'm like, you betrayed your friend. And don't pretend you care about her. Like, I don't really get this whole my friend, because you weren't that great when she was alive. So.
I'm really confused about the entire dynamic between Narampa and Iktan. I'm so confused because, like, who betrayed who? Who's at fault? Now she's dead and he cares. They care. Sorry, I'm not sure if it's a he.
All good.
They care with the X thingy. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm gonna just say they. But I'm so confused. I don't know what to think of that entire. I didn't know what to think in the first book, but then I was like, well, he died, so that's it. And now he's alive, and it's like, okay, but now I'm confused again. I don't get it.
No, for me, what I was so confused about their motivations, because I like the first book. I was like, okay, so they betrayed Narampa. But sounds like they didn't, but I feel like they did. But then I was like, no, but why are you like, oh, I hate eagle people because they killed my friend. But then I'm bullying this eagle person because I want her to be a better commander, because I'm actually on their side. I was like, so which is it? I don't understand.
I feel like the guy has multiple personality disorder. The person.
Confusing. It's confusing.
I'm so confused. I have no idea what's going on. And then they're kind to Ziala, and then at one point she kind of like, I don't know, petted him or something, and then he did have a knife, and I'm like, what? Like, is this just like trust issues, or am I just missing the point here? Is it just going to like whoop, like right over my head? I'm so confused.
I think we're gonna figure that out, because now Ziala passed on the message that Narampa's for sure alive. So we'll see what they do. But for me, I was like actually really surprised they were alive. And then I was like, oh, duh. Like they set it up really well, actually, that they sent someone in their stead to official things. And I was like, oh, that's so clever. So I was like, ooh, they're still alive. That's so clever. Yeah. But yeah. I agree. I don't really know what they're about, what they're called.
Like, that's what my confusion is, because they said, like, you know, they talked to Abba, I think, in the first book about possibly becoming coming into the Order of Knives, but we have very strict sets of morals that we need to abide by. But I'm like, you don't have any morals. You don't seem to have any, at the very least. So, what morals are those?
Yeah. Yeah, what do they want to protect? Tovag, a specific kind of power? I don't know. Iktan isn't religious, so what do they want? What do they care about? Yeah, I don't really know. I'm just looking at how long this third book is, because I feel like it needs to be longer, like significantly.
I feel like it's 600 pages or something.
Yeah,
I have one like thing that kind of annoyed me. It's just very, very tiny in the grand scheme of things, but when they like Iktan and Ziala were first in the tent with the, you know, when they kind of took her hostage and everything, and the first thing the guy did was get drunk, and I was like, is there nothing better you have to do? I was like, is this your entire point in life?
I think Ziala's just makes bad choices. Like her
my issue was not with Ziala. My issue was with Iktan.
Oh, okay. Well, getting drunk after not being able to drink alcohol? Sorry, I
was like, is that like the sole reason you're doing this? I was like,
kind of get it now because that was like their first drink since. Like, I guess if your whole purpose in life was uprooted, you'd be like, give me a fucking drink. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, but he confuses me, so I don't feel like his entire purpose in life was uprooted because I still have no idea what the fuck he's doing.
That's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Book three is only 550 pages, but that's 100 more than this. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I think when this came out, I saw quite a lot of critique about this one compared to the first one, and like I do get it. I'm hopeful for the third one, but I'm not sure. I'm also kind of fearful.
I get the critique that I feel like it was a bit harsher than it wasn't as bad as I anticipated because it's like we said, it's a setup book. So it's setting a lot of things up and some things aren't clear, but I'm hoping the last book will make sense. Yeah. But yeah. It could also be like we come out as confused as to what's happening as we are now. But it definitely does well, like the dramatics, like some like the scenes I feel like are quite like easy to imagine. Like they're very visceral because the scene at the end where Serapio builds his little palace, like I totally can imagine it when he was like turning into the crows and attacking. Like I totally can imagine it. So I think that's what I like about this book. It has like really epic, really cool feeling scenes that like you can imagine very easily. Oh, I'm scared. Synopsis of the final book sounds tasty. Should we look it up? I'm scared.
Does this mean we're gonna have a Serapio and Zala scene? Because
it better.
I was so hopeful when Ziala went looking for him and gave the guard the mermaid figurine, and then when she just decided to up and leave, I was like, well, there goes my hope.
Yeah, that's why I was so annoyed because we were so close. She ruined it.
And I feel like he'd be more likely to do something now because he's realizing like all the things about her, and he realizes that he's no longer like a god or doesn't house a god. So I have a feeling like that he's like more likely to take it further this time because he doesn't have like anything holding him back anymore.
Let's pray.
I'm so ready for the reunion. If it turns out to be like, oh, he's a tyrant now and she doesn't want to do anything, like have anything to do with him, I'd be so pissed. Stand by this man in his wrongs. That's what I want. I'm not saying that's good in real life, but that's what I want in this book. Support his wrongdoings because he's the cutest little cinnamon bun and I want only good things for him.
The guy just needs a hug. We will excuse everything he does because he just needs a hug. The guy has not known love his entire life. He just needs a hug and like a warm blanket and, good homemade soup.
Period.
Okay, but didn't she know like that he killed like a lot of people like on that rock? Didn't she know about that?
She knows, and she didn't care, and I support that. So I hope she keeps that energy up. Like I just don't want her to turn and there's been some morality lesson. I don't need a moral. I have good morals. I want love. We support Serapio's wrongs.
Don't go soft on us now, Zala.
Yeah, I know, right? Support the genocidal maniac, please. All right. Was there anything else? Anything else you want to chat about?
Yeah. So like Zala's mom kind of cracked me up. She's just like, you slept with a man. Like, I'm pissed. And I'm like, yeah. Oh my God, that was great. Like she's just like, you need to stop messing with men and start messing with your female counterparts. That's what we want for you. Yeah.
It was like homosexuality, not heterosexuality.
Yeah.
It was so funny because she's like, yeah, you can have sex with them, but don't catch feelings. That's disgusting. I was like, okay. She was like, another man. This is not how I raised you. I also thought it was very funny.
I I know. It was great though, because I'm just like, dang, I was just like, they really don't like men in this society. And I'm like, all right, I get it, but like at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, if she found a good one, like, or maybe like, she knows like that she's got bad taste in men, like maybe Serapio like would definitely like be like on her red flag radar, because maybe that follows her like, previous pattern. I mean, but like, yeah.
No, but like Serapio's actions might call for red flags, but like Serapio as a person is like a green flag.
Yeah.
Because he's like super nice. He's just like a cute little cinnamon bun.
I agree. Serapio the man's great. Serapio the god is questionable, but what are questionable?
Yeah, but see, Serapio the god isn't actually Serapio. That's just a different person. So Serapio's good. Serapio's green flag.
We're like, Serapio actually did nothing wrong, so
That was just the god inside him.
True.
Yeah. No, I had to add that because like I couldn't stop thinking about like how pissed off like Zala's mom was about like just like you actually didn't get banished. You were just trying to avoid punishment.
I was like, Zala, girl, first of all, like to say you were banished when you actually ran away is a little funny to me. To not even check that you actually murdered your own mother is even funnier. And then I was confused because at some point there was this scene where she heard that they're sending envoys to Teak. And she in her head was like, I can just imagine my mom opening that and being like, whatever. I was like, I thought you think your mom is dead. What are you talking about? So I was a bit like, what? So that's why when it was revealed that she thought she killed her mom, I was like, but you were just talking about her being alive and not reading her letters. What are we doing here? But it was very funny. And it was like, you're coming home with us and never seeing another man ever. Actually. Don't be mean to your female lover you abandoned, you bitch. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I love that.
I want to learn more about the Teak. I want to experience it firsthand. I feel like it's hilarious. Hannah brings a good point. Almost forgot about Okoa. He's a terrible detective. I mean, yes. Okoa is so interesting because he's another, like, he just can't win. Like, he can't catch a break. Like, whatever he does just ends up, like, blowing up in his face, but he really doesn't have bad intentions. Although him switching up on Serapio so quickly after his person attacked Serapio and Serapio defended himself and killed that person, he was like, actually, I'm not going to tell you where the Sand Priest is, and I'm actually going to support Sand Priest now. I was like, that's quite the turnaround after you were in the wrong, but I quite like him. I don't know. There's something himbo-y about him. Like, he doesn't seem that smart, but he's really nice. And
yeah, he just comes across as someone who's like 12 to me. I don't know.
Maybe not 12, but like, yeah.
14. I'll give him 14.
Yeah, he gives raised at a boarding school, that's for sure.
Yeah. Blissfully unaware of the world, very naive. I don't know. Very undiplomatic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. To be fair, he was raised kind of at boarding school, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it was
like a boarding school for war, so I was like,
yeah, but the main thing they teach you is don't, which is a nice way to teach war.
Yeah, but they said like they teach things like diplomacy and compromise, and I was like, I'm not seeing a whole lot of that here.
True. Yeah, he was a little fumbling his way about. I was like, oh, you're so pretty. Not so smart.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference between putting it, like, like learning stuff and putting it into practice. And I think he just doesn't have that experience.
No. That's why I think him and Narampa would be perfect for each other because they're not very bright. So I feel like they'd be perfect. Yeah, they both have good intentions, no skills.
Their two brain cells will be a perfect match to each other, I think.
Yeah. They'll make a whole smart person. Oh, it's scary how much power they have. And also, sorry, I was wondering about this. I was like, do you think Teak just biologically don't give birth to sons? Or do you think they drown them? Because I think they drown them.
Yeah.
Oh, probably the second option.
I was like, that's very dark. I'm sure we're going to learn.
I hope so, because like I'm kind of curious, like to know like what an adult teak male would grow up to be.
Yeah. I think they just don't let him.
Probably bad, but
Yeah, I wonder. Or it's like the reason they do all this is because they can't make their own men, as in like they can't give birth to men or boys or whatever. But yeah, I'm curious. I really want the mermaid action, man. Like I'm so ready.
Mm-hmm.
So ready.
There's very few really good mermaid books out there.
It's a desert. I went on a whole journey and I swear I read like 20, 30, and only like a handful were actually good. The rest were not good. So I was like, I want more mermaids. Considering the cover, I think we're gonna get it. I mean, that's a mermaid if I've ever seen one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Excited. All right, anything else?
I can't think of anything else on my end because I feel like we already kind of discussed Balam like a little bit, you know, because look at the sorcery. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I found him really quite interesting. I do feel like him doing the dream walking kind of fell off as the book went out. I thought it would be playing a bigger role, but maybe there's something that's going to be set up in book 3.
I definitely feel like this was like all set up though. Like we were like just trying to get like everybody like where they needed to be like to start the action for book 3. You know?
Yeah.
It definitely felt like a bridge.
100%. Yeah. Wait. Well, our ratings. I do think we kind of said, but I think 4. I haven't done the compile yet, but I think 3.5 or 4 sounds about right. You, Kira?
Yeah, 4. I would say like about a 4.
For me, it's like right now about a 3-star, I guess.
I do think the ending was definitely towards the end, it was my favorite. There was like definitely like you can see when I was tabbing, there's just like a bunch in the book where I didn't tab anything because I was like, I don't feel anything towards it. And then I was like, oh, tab, Serapios, tab. So it was slightly uneven, but it's okay. Awesome. All right. Well, sorry, I should have asked also 3 stars. Hopefully book 3 will come in very strong. So I think we're having the live show for the final book on the 4th of August. That was the plan. And if we have reading sprints, I assume it'll be the 21st or the 28th, but with summer, everyone's been very busy, so sometimes
Yeah. I do have to bring my parents to the airport on the 21st. I do think I'll be back. I think they fly at noon, so that means they have to be at the airport at like 9. So I should be home like on time, but just as a.
Yeah, I can do 21st, 28th. I can't because I'm flying back from France. But if you can do 21st, Kira, we can do that. Also, Femke, if you need to like not come in on the exact time and just join through, that's fine too.
So like if I have to drop them off at 9 and they go through like, you know, baggage drop off and security at that point, I can drive home. I should be home before noon. So it should be okay. It's about a 1.5 hour drive. Granted, I do need to transport the dog and the bird, like my parents' pets, to my place.
The dog and the bird.
The dog and the bird, yes. So I'll have company on the 21st.
And you're good to do it, Kira?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you on the 21st, and we'll see you on the 4th for the final, and we'll see you on Twitter in the meantime.
May the 4th be with you. Not that I've ever seen anything Star Wars, but
that's kind of impressive. All right, should we say bye and we can chit chat?
I've seen memes, but yeah, we should probably say bye.
I'm clicking it. Bye. Thank you, Hannah, for all the conversation.
Thank you. Bye.